morning and welcome to Cover 2 Cook. We're going to start off by recapping the Thursday night football between the Saints and the Denver Broncos. We're going to talk about our must-watch for this college Saturday coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about this Army-Navy situation that's brewing right now and then finish off with our bets. But before I get too far, let me bring on my co-host, Mr. Tim Cook. How you doing today?
I am doing good. Excited about this Saturday's games. We've got another great games, another Saturday night game that I think is going to go down possibly as another classic like last Saturday.
No, I totally agree, and I think college football's on fire. I mean, I know there was there was a lot of scrutiny with the whole conferences and everything like that, but this is just, I mean, we're getting bang, bang, bang every weekend, and I mean, it's making it easy for us for our three must watch for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. It's some of the nostalgia people may not like this because you're seeing games being played that normally that wouldn't have been played 20, 30 years ago unless it was in a bowl game. But I like it. I like it. I think it's going to only help college football.
I totally agree. But let's start off with some Thursday night football. So Sean Payton back in New Orleans. They were honoring Drew Brees at halftime. Not much to honor at that point. But what do you think about this game?
It started out really slow. I mean, the scoring was Bo Nix just did not look good. The first couple drives, he just was like, you could tell he's a rookie quarterback because he just wasn't setting his feet in the pocket. He was jittery, and when he was throwing some balls like that, they did not look good. But I think they kind of got him on the sideline, settled him down because if he can plant his feet and keep his feet settled, he's got a hell of an arm. And it was just like he was just throwing darts right out there, just bang, 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 and he actually looked really good. New Orleans, you can tell Spencer Rattler, I don't think that guy is their guy. He just looks so rattled out there. Now, don't get me wrong. They had a lot of key injuries with the wide receivers. Olave was out. Shaheed is out for the rest of the year. I mean, they had a laundry list of injuries. I think they had 7 players out for this game. So that's tough. And you're playing back, you're playing after a short rest. So that's hard too. But it just seemed like this was just like, and I'll tell you what, Denver could have been up a lot more. I mean, they were up, was it 16-3 at half or 13-3 at half? They could have been up 23. If you don't have that offside penalty when he fumbles the ball, that DN isn't offside, he goes back for 6 points as well. So, I mean, this could have been a blowout early.
Yeah, New Orleans has just got way too many injuries. You were naming a couple there, but you got Taysom Hill out. You got Eric McCoy, Cesar Riaz. It's and then you got, Derek Carr's obviously the biggest one out of all of them, I believe, because he's starting quarterback. But they're just too much injury riddled that unfortunately this season's pretty much over for them. I mean, I don't know when Derek Carr's going to get back, but I mean, Shaheed going down for the full year IR, like that's huge. I mean, that was a playmaker for them. Punt returns, kick returns, wide receiver. So it is unfortunate, but you talk about this year's quarterbacks, rookies. So you got Jane Daniels with a winning record. You got the Bears. Caleb Williams with the winning record, and Bo Nix has now got a winning record as well. Now you got the other one from Patriots. He's coming to start to play.
Oh, Drake May.
Yeah, so you can't really put him into this whole mix yet because he hasn't really even earned himself a winning or losing record. But I mean, you're seeing these quarterbacks coming out, and they're definitely doing better, or they're starting out. But I think the Broncos' big key takeaway from this game is getting Javonte Williams back going. I mean, he had 2 rushing touchdowns. They started handing him the ball. I mean, when that team can run the ball, it opens more for Bo Nix. But when they can't run the ball, they can't do anything. And Cortland Sutton wasn't a part of the game plan at all. I mean, he just wasn't. He didn't get the ball. I actually don't think he had a catch on the game, if I'm reading that correctly. So it was obvious that, it was run the ball. But once you kind of see this injury-riddled Saints team, you kind of expected to win this game.
Yeah, and all Denver did was stack the box. They said, Rattler, you're going to have to beat us throwing the ball down. And there was some I mean, they converted on a fourth down. New Orleans did. I mean, he threw like a loop of a ball to the tight end. I mean, that could have been picked off. I mean, that was on a fourth down. I mean, they were on fourth down on their own, I think 40 or 45, and they had to get something going. I mean, they just couldn't get nothing going. And Denver was just, I don't know. And like you said, Javonte Williams, they finally got their right tackle that I want to say McGillicuddy, but it ain't McGillicuddy. That's a liquor. But yeah, from San Francisco, that's the big contract they signed with him. They just finally got him back from injury too, so that did help too. There were some gaping holes for Javonte Williams to get, and he scored a couple touchdowns too. So I'll tell you, if that defense is going to keep Denver in a lot of games this year, if they defense could keep going like that, they're going to be in a lot of games this year, I feel.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm still a believer yet on this defense because you give up that bad performance against the Chargers. I mean,
yeah.
I think it's a bad team you're playing against, so you'll look good on a bad team. I mean, really, when you talk about defenses, I mean, you put the Vikings up there, and they'll get a good test with the number one scoring team of Detroit this upcoming weekend. But when you talk about the Denver defense, it's like, show me a couple more games. I know you're fourth best overall, but show me a couple more games before I start believing in you. I just dropped you on fantasy, and now I'm kind of regretting it. But
I actually did pick them up on fantasy, so they got me 16 points last night. So
I got the Vikings defense, so I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, and then final thing I'll say about this game too is Alvin Kamara. He had as many catches as he did rushes. Wow. Yeah, not gonna win you many games there. No. So. But yeah, not a very exciting game. It's all about Sean Payton obviously coming in and spanking his old team. Drew Brees was a halftime thing, and I didn't even get to see the halftime, but supposedly he was doing some stupid speech and crap. Give it up. But let's move on to college football. Huge college football day. We got 3 must-watch games, but I'm telling you right now, you probably could watch 5 or 6. So sit down, enjoy your day. I got to move, but I'm going to do that all in the morning, so that I can sit down and watch some games because we're starting off with our first must-watch game. Number 7, Alabama versus number 11, Tennessee. Both teams need this win. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, Alabama has not looked good the last couple of weeks. They got beat by Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt, pretty handily, and then they barely beat South Carolina. If it wasn't for, they got the onside kick. They are not the Alabama team we all know and love with strong defense. Alabama has allowed 25 points in the last 2 games. That's not Alabama football. They're known for great defenses and a strong running attack. Tennessee just got by Florida last week too in overtime. And Florida's I don't think that good. I think the X factor is going to be the quarterbacks. Which quarterback's going to step up? Milroe has got to step up like he did against Georgia, throwing the ball, running the ball, getting the ball out there and getting it moving, So, he's got to play better. And, the quarterback for Nico Imalea, I want to say, hasn't broke 200 yards since week 2 of the season. And he's only got 1 touchdown and 3 SEC games. You ain't going to win very many games like that. But, what will keep Tennessee in this game is their defense. They are a very good defensive team, but they also have some defensive people that are questionable due to injury. So, Alabama's got to get back to their style of football, running, pounding, and playing great defense, But, if they don't, what'll happen? They'll tear down the goalposts and throw it in their local river like they did the last time somebody came in there and they beat them too. So.
Well, and I just think this game, the biggest X factor, I believe, is the defense of Alabama. They have to get to Nico. Nico's been getting sacked way too often recently, and they have to get to them. But I definitely agree with you. This is not a usual Alabama defense, but I don't feel like this is a usual Alabama team. I understand this is the first year behind that new coach outside of Nick Saban, but
Caleb DeBoer.
It just feels different. I don't feel the urgency. I don't feel the – even last week when they were playing them tough, I believe it was South Carolina, right? When they were playing them tough, it was just one of these situations where it was like it didn't feel like it was like, oh, if we lose, this is bad. You know what I mean? That's not Alabama football. That's not. So I definitely agree. Both these teams have a schedule ahead of them that's gonna either make or break them. But they got to win this game. Whoever wins this game gets himself back into the talks of the playoffs. I keep seeing this. If college football ended today, both of them would be in there. It's like, well, yeah, but both these teams have to go play better teams as the year goes on. So I just don't see it happening. I actually might be the first time in a long time we don't see Alabama in the playoffs this year, because I think Alabama loses this game. I just think with the home field advantage, Tennessee, if they can run the ball, which teams have been able to run the ball on Alabama, if Tennessee can run the ball on them, I think they're going to pull it out. But Jalen Milroe has to step up. He's had 3 interceptions in the past 2 games. That is not going to win you many games. He's won because they haven't played a team like Tennessee yet. I just think with coming out of this game, I think it's more of the home field advantage in this one. And I don't know. It's weird to say that. I think Alabama's going to lose. You wouldn't have said that past 10 years.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think if Alabama can play the defense like they did against Georgia, where they got, Carson Beck out and made him throw on the run and stuff like that. If they could do it with this kid here, I think they got a really good shot at doing it. But like I said, they've got to play. They've got to play like they played against Georgia 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. They've got to step up like that. Because, like I said, it's not going to get any easier. These games are not. They got LSU, I think, in a couple of weeks, and LSU's starting to play good ball now.
Well, and that's the thing too. I don't know how much you actually want to get Nico out of the pocket, because Nico can go. I mean, he can go. Carson Beck couldn't go.
That's true.
I think your biggest thing is just keeping the containment. Let him sit in the pocket, because Nico has proven that he can't make the best decisions all the time. I mean, he's still young, very young. Right. So, but let him sit out there. Let him hold on to the ball and get worried that, the clock's going in my head. I got to get rid of the ball. That's when you make stupid mistakes. You throw an overthrow, tip ball, whatever. But I definitely agree. Alabama's got to bring that intensity they did against Georgia, and I just don't think they will, because it's not home for them. But last week was home against South Carolina.
No,
and it wasn't. It wasn't like a game that felt like they needed. So I just think Tennessee coming out of that Florida close game. So we'll see. But that moves us to our second game, must watch. Number 24 Michigan versus number 22 Illinois. It's always great to see a good Illinois team and a better Illinois ranked team than Michigan. First time both teams are ranked going into Memorial Stadium since 2000. Holy cow. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting game. You've got Michigan coming off the bye. They lost the last previous game. They lost at Washington. They just didn't look very good. And then you got Illinois. They came off the double overtime victory against Purdue. They didn't look good. That defense got exposed big time last week against a Purdue team that's not very good. I mean, they're not good at all. So were they looking ahead to Michigan? Possibly. Who knows? But it just seems like it if playing down to their competition. So Michigan's going to have to use the ground game again. Caleb Mullins and all that, 191. They've averaged 191.3 yards per game on the ground. That's a lot of yards. I mean, that's your offense right there, pretty much. And Illinois's got, Allmeyer, and their defense has got to step up and put pressure on that quarterback. I think it's Warren that's going to start for Michigan, I think. But that defense has got to come ready to play. If they don't come ready to play, I could see Michigan running away with it.
Yeah, I think your biggest thing here is, it's a sold out game. You got to bring the intensity. U of I, this is your game. I mean, you want to be talked about in the Big Ten. You want to be notorious for the Big Ten. I know this is a start of a little bit of this, oh my gosh, we're good. But this is a game where the crowd has to be a part of the game. We've went to some Northwestern games, and obviously Northwestern isn't U of I this year. But when I went to a Northwestern versus Michigan, 60% of the crowd was Michigan. Yeah. So Illinois needs to be there and have a presence. The fans do. But I saw that Illinois has not won a ranked home game against another ranked team since 1991. Wow. That was before I was born. So, and I'm not a spring chicken.
I think that year they went to the Rose Bowl.
Yes, yep. So, and I think your key player of this game is your Luke Altmaier and Pat Bryant. I mean, they have to get more on the same page. You got to stop the run of Michigan because that's all Michigan's known for now is running the ball. I mean, we saw that against Washington when the run wasn't going, they weren't scoring. So, sounds like the Tuttle is going to be playing for Michigan starting. So, it is one of these things where if Illinois can just play their game, I think they can win this game because I don't know Michigan. Michigan being back in the top 25, even though they're only 24th, I don't think they're that team. Like, get their names out of it. If they lose this game, they're definitely out of it. Which now makes the Michigan Ohio State just a little bit more interesting because Michigan's got nothing to lose. Ohio State's got everything to lose. But
Yeah.
I mean, this Michigan team, it's ride or die on the run, and that's great if you can run the ball. But when you can't, like they couldn't against Washington, it sucks the energy out of your team. But Illinois is ninth in the nation in the red zone against the ninth in the red zone. And then you're going against the best run defense in Big Ten with Michigan. So, I mean, that red zone is going to matter for this game. If Illinois kicks field goals, they will lose this game. If they score touchdowns, this is how they're going to win the game. So we'll definitely see. But I think this is a great Midwestern game. It's more of the SEC showdown this weekend, but this is a great Big Ten game.
Well, and also Illinois goes to Oregon next week. So, I mean, this is only going to get harder as we go. So
definitely agree. And you're going to see their true colors now. I mean, you beat Nebraska. Okay, good. But then you barely beat, you beat Kansas, which we're finding out Kansas wasn't that great this year. So now it's like put a statue right now of what this shows you who you guys are. If you win this game, you move on, then you go to Oregon. Now you got to give Oregon a run for their money. So we'll see. But I definitely think with this game, it's the best Big Ten game of this weekend with seeing if Michigan's even that real either.
Right.
Well, that moves us to our night game. Definitely the game of the weekend for college football. Number 5, Georgia versus number 1, Texas. And I'm going to ask this, but do you think that Texas has played a real team yet?
I'm going to say no. I thought maybe Michigan, but Michigan isn't what we thought they were going to be. And Oklahoma last week, Oklahoma just had too many injuries. So I'm going to say no. I mean, Georgia's played Alabama.
And that's what I'm thinking is like Texas hasn't really played a team yet. So now we get this Georgia team. You're luckily at home, so you get to have this advantage. But now you're going to play a real, and I say real because this is, possibly the second best SEC team. You're going to now face them off. Can you guys, are you guys for real? Are you going to put yourselves way above in the number 1 ranking? But what do you think about this game?
I think the winner of this game puts them right in the driver's seat for the SEC championship. I really do. And maybe a lock for maybe one of the top 4 seeds in the college football playoffs. Can Texas defense get enough pressure on Carson Beck and make him run out of the pocket like Alabama did? I mean, that was very successful at the beginning of the game. Texas secondary, can they control Georgia's wide receivers? That's another deal too. Like I said, Texas hasn't really hardly played anybody. None of this kind of caliber of offense. And Quinn Ewers, he cannot struggle like he did last week. I know maybe he was just a little bit rusty, maybe a little bit nervous, but he can't struggle like that, or Georgia will eat him up alive. The last thing, it's the 2 coaches, Kirby Smart against Steve Sarkisian. Kirby's had a little bit more experience at this, at these big games compared to, Sark has played in a couple of big games this year or last year and this year. So, also too, Texas is hoping to get back Isaiah Bond, their wide receiver. He got hurt last week in the Oklahoma game. And Georgia's hoping to get back right guard Tate Rutledge. He's been hurt with injury with knee and ankle. So Georgia just can't get down 28-0 Texas. Texas defense is too good. If they get down 28-0, I don't see them coming back. No way. So I think you clear your Saturday night out, get your popcorn ready, because I think this was one of the better games for the second week in a row. I think you're going to see one that's going to go right down to the end.
Well, you got to think this is 3 weeks in a row because wasn't Georgia, Alabama 3 weeks ago?
I think so.
Yeah, and then it was Oregon, Ohio State, and then now you have this one. It is. This is where I'm saying the bang, bang, bang games. Now, a Georgia loss puts them in a touchy situation, and the reason why I say that is because there's other undefeated teams in the SEC. I mean, you got to remember Texas A&M's back in there. You got LSU with the 2-0 conference ranking. Like, you have other teams in here, so if you lose this game, you got to. I mean, you have to win out, and you still have to play Ole Miss at Ole Miss. You still got to play Tennessee. There's other games later this year, so Georgia has to come out strong. They have to come out fast. I do think their offense is starting to click a little bit better. Since the Alabama loss, I think their wide receivers are starting to get a little bit better as well. Like, I think Carson Beck's getting more comfortable with them. But I think their biggest thing of this game is you got to run the ball. Georgia needs to run from the start. And the reason why I say that is because it opens up the play action. Kirby Smart is so known for back when Stetson Bennett was there and things like that, where it's the play action that sells the run to throw the deep ball or to get your tight ends involved. Brock Bowers made a living off of the play action. So they have to get that open. But the problem is we just watched Oklahoma play last weekend against this Texas defense, and they shut down that run. They shut that run down. So can Georgia get that run game started? I definitely agree that the Texas secondary, they're amazing. They make plays. They'll go, like, if it's an interception, there's a chance they're taking it to the end zone. But I just, Quinn Ewers, definitely another factor in this one as well. He's got to come into this game rust-free, I agree, but at the same time, hand the ball off. I mean, put Georgia in some bad situations, hand the ball off, get that playing going for you guys as well. Get them comfortable. Throw a couple out routes, throw a couple bubbles just to get them used to this game, because it is. I mean, this is Texas. Is Texas back? This is that statement game for them.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And one good thing is it's at Georgia, so they're playing there. I mean, I think this is going to be, like I said, another awesome game to watch. It's like you said, Texas defense has got to step up. If they could put pressure on Carson Beck and get him out of the pocket and make him get happy feet, is how they say it, and just start, I think they got a good shot at winning this game at Georgia. And you know what? Texas is not afraid to go into a hostile stadium. And because you know what? They beat Texas a couple years ago. Or Alabama a couple years ago. I don't know if that was last year or 2 years ago. They beat Alabama at Alabama. So Sark is not afraid to go into a hostile place and beat somebody handily.
Yeah, but this game is at Texas. This isn't.
Oh, I thought it was Georgia.
No, so it's in Texas, and that's where I think Texas the advantage. I mean, if it was in but I mean, I think the way you saw Alabama play, like against Georgia, like the home field advantage is going to, if they can shut them out real quick, that home field advantage is going to take it over. I think this is, and I agree with everything you were just saying with on the Texas side, but Georgia's done this well too. They're used to this going into places. It's just, we talk NFL and we talk college football, but it's not the same team, right? Like every year, and now even with the more than ever with the transfer portal the way it is, NIL, these teams switch up so often that, like, is the same philosophy going to work? And what I mean by that is Kirby Smart going to have that same mentality with this team to go into a hostile environment? Because Texas is ready for this. Texas wants all that smoke. And I think this game, I mean, it's a 4.5 point spread for this game, which I think is a lot for a 1 versus 5. But I could see it getting out of hand very quickly if Texas gets what they want.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, that wraps up our must-watch, but there's a lot of great games. Let me go through a couple more that are definitely noteworthy. So you got Miami versus Louisville at 11 o'clock. Miami coming out with the number 6 seed against Louisville. You got number 10 Clemson versus Virginia. You got number 16 and undefeated Indiana versus Nebraska at Indiana. You got Missouri going against Auburn. Can they bounce back in the SEC? You got the number 23 ranked Army. Yes, you heard me there. Number 23 ranked Army against East Carolina. That's a good squad there too. And then you got Notre Dame, number 12 Notre Dame going to Georgia Tech. I think that'll be a close game.
I just seen today where their quarterback for Georgia Tech, that I can't think of his. I know what his last name is. King is doubtful for playing. I think they're going up with the backup for Georgia Tech.
And that might be why the point spread's 14, because I think that's a aggressive point
Yeah,
spread.
yeah. Because that's a home game for Georgia Tech.
Yes,
I don't care. I know it's at a neutral site at Atlanta. Atlanta's deal. That's a home game. That's a home game for them, for Georgia Tech.
yeah, definitely. But Notre Dame fans are notorious for traveling, so I mean,
Yeah.
with the neutral site, it kind of evens it up a little bit. But being in Georgia for Georgia Tech is definitely an advantage. You got number 25 Navy going against Charlotte. You got number 14 Texas A&M. See how quick they ran back up into the top 25. And then you got number 8 LSU going against Arkansas at Arkansas. You got number 9 Iowa State playing UCF. Your night games, you got Kansas State versus West Virginia, number 17 Kansas State, and number 21 SMU going out to California for the Stanford Cardinals. What do you think about these Saturday games?
I like them. The one game, I think it was the second to last game you were talking about.
Oh, the Kansas State, West Virginia?
That should be a good one. I think that's going to be, a good one. There's other, these are another top-notch deal. I mean, one game that we, which we will talk about is Army Navy, both undefeated. So that should be interesting.
Yeah, I just think it's a good spread out Saturday. And what I mean by that is like your 11 o'clock games, you guys must watch games there as well. With Miami and Louisville, Clemson. I think the Indiana-Nebraska is going to be a great game because of, is Indiana for real? I mean, they really haven't played anyone yet. Is Nebraska for real? And then you get into the afternoon games, boom, Alabama, Tennessee, Notre Dame, you got Illinois, Michigan. And then your night games wrap up with Georgia, Texas, which has got to be on your main screen. Keep an eye out for this LSU, Arkansas.
Yeah, I like that one. That's a sneaky good game, could be.
Yep. And then you got on your third TV, or, in my situation, my third TV, or you're flipping back, is Kansas State, West Virginia. So it's a great action-packed Saturday. And but you started talking about for a second, but we want to talk about this Army-Navy situation. So I'm going to kind of give a quick of it. So Army is undefeated, and so is Navy. Both teams play Notre Dame, so let's just put that out there right off the bat, that they both have to go through Notre Dame this year. If they stay undefeated, they would play each other in a conference championship. So this is the first year that both teams are in a conference, as they used to be independent. If they play each other for a conference championship, they would play each other the following weekend for the Army-Navy game. Do you feel that since they joined the conference, and this year that is kind of going the way it is, it takes away from the Army-Navy game?
No, I don't think so, because I think Army-Navy game is a tradition like no other. I mean, that is a standalone game. Now, the NFL is decided, I don't think so. And now they're going to have an NFL game pretty much, I think, the same time that afternoon as the Army-Navy game. Really? Come on, NFL. How much viewership do you really need? But I don't think it will. I think you're still going to get your nostalgia, older people that is going to watch Army-Navy. They'll sit down and say, hey, this is a tradition like no other, as Jim Nantz would say. And, sit down and just watch it, just the pageantry of Army-Navy. It's been a tradition for over 100 years. I don't think it will lose any of its lackluster.
Well, and I will say Navy plays Notre Dame next weekend, right? And then Army doesn't play them until the 23rd of November, yep. So 23rd of November. So you kind of got a little bit of time, but if Notre Dame would find a way to beat both these teams, you still might be talking about them in the conference championship. And if Notre Dame does beat both these teams, I put them in the playoffs, because that's 4 ranked teams that they would beat if they both stay ranked by the time they play them. But right. I do think it takes away a little bit from this Army-Navy. And it's the same thing that if Michigan would have had a great season and Oregon wouldn't have been who Oregon is this year, you could see the same thing. Not the following weekend, but you would see them play each other and then play each other.
It could have been the following weekend, because the Big Ten Championship is the following weekend.
Yeah, I think they take a week off, but yes, because that's usually they take the weekend off before for Army Navy. But yes,
Oh, yes, right.
but so that's the thing. I mean, you are talking about playing each other conference championship, then playing each other for a regular game. I just think it does take a little away from it. But when you're looking at the season already, right now, a lot of these teams are going to play each other before they get to a conference championship. I mean, you look at the Big Ten, there's a great chance that Oregon, Ohio State play each other again. And if
Yes.
that is not the game in the Big Ten, if Penn State wins out and plays in that game, they will get slapped by either one of these teams. Penn State is not that team. They're on their way, but they're not that team this year. So you're seeing that one. We talked about, Georgia, Alabama. That might be who's playing each other in the conference championship. Well, this week you got Georgia versus Texas. And so I think it does take away a little bit from that Army-Navy game just because that was always a game that everyone would tune in to watch, even though it might not have been two great teams because it was our military bowl, right? Like it just, you had a lot of
You have a lot of tradition with it.
Yeah.
A lot of, I mean, they've been playing for so long. You've got your older people that watch. This might be the only game they watched for college football the whole time, just for the simple fact of maybe they were in the Army or the Navy, one of the armed services, and this might be the only game they watched the whole year.
But I do think it's good. Both teams are undefeated right now. They're both playing.
Yeah, this doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, and they're both playing really good ball. So I think that's the situation where it could still happen. I just don't know if both teams escape Notre Dame. I think Army has a better chance.
Even if they're both one-loss team and they play each other, that would be. I think this is a pretty good.
Yeah, it might be a good situation. I still just I think Navy might not be at Army's level. I think Army's definitely up there. I think they're going to be.
Yeah.
They're going to win.
Agree.
Honestly, I think they could possibly give Notre Dame a run for all their money. So,
yeah.
But let's move on to our bets. Give me your first bet for this weekend.
I'm glad you were talking about the Army-Navy game because I am going to start out with East Carolina versus Army. East Carolina is looking to bounce back from a 55-24 loss to Charlotte. Charlotte? Where's that at? Oh, that's right, to North Carolina. East Carolina is led by Carlin Hauser and running back London Montgomery. Army is led by Bryson Daly, which he's been getting talk a lot about how good he really is. Army has won each of the last 9 games against non-AP ranked teams. East Carolina has failed to cover 3 of the last 4 road games. And after that 55-24 drubbing of Charlotte, I can see why. I think Army is just too tough for East Carolina. And you know what? I'll give you the 16.5 points because I don't think this is going to even be close. So I'll take Army.
Wow. See, and that one's a big one because I was more of on the East Carolina. I just don't think they can beat them by that much. But Army has been whooping teams. So definitely on that one. For me, I have the first game, an 11 o'clock game, Miami versus Louisville. So Louisville's got 2 losses on this year, but to the 2 teams that they've lost to SMU, ranked, and Notre Dame, that's ranked now. So both teams are valid losses, but you barely get past Virginia. You beat up on Georgia Tech, and then you play Jackson State and Appalachian, or not Appalachian State, but you played another not a named team.
Yeah, FBS.
Yeah. So with Miami right now, I think they are just too good. I know it's at Louisville, but I'm going to take the points. I'm going to give you the points with Miami giving 4.5 on this game.
You just don't know which Louisville team is going to show up, even at home. I mean, they played SMU and they got behind early, and then they end up getting beat. But then Virginia came to their house, and Virginia came back, and then all of a sudden, so you don't know what Louisville team is going to show up. And then they, like I said, they played Notre Dame, and they weren't even in that game. So the final score looks like it, but they weren't.
Yep, no, definitely. What do you got for your second bet?
Second bet, Michigan versus the Fighting Illini. You like what we've talked about, Michigan's coming off the bye. Illinois coming off that double overtime victory. They're going to have to play better, and hopefully they're not looking past this game to go to they're going to have to go to Eugene and play in Oregon. Almar's going to have an awesome game. I mean, he's going to have to really throw the ball. He's got 14 touchdowns and 1 interception this year, which is a pretty good stat, I think. Illinois has covered the spread in each of the last 5 games as an underdog at home. Michigan has failed to cover the spread in each of the last 3 games as a favorite. You see where I'm heading with this, don't you? I like Illinois getting the 3 points at home, and I think they might win this game outright.
Wow. So even a possible of a money line on this one.
Possible, yes. I think Illinois is going to probably have their best game of the year here.
Well, they need to. If they're going to beat this team, they're going to have to have that. I definitely agree. This will be a fun. I'm just super excited for them. I made a joke when Notre Dame lost against Northern Illinois that I was going to become a U of I fan, and done pretty well so far against, unless you talk about the Penn State game. But for my second bet, I'm staying in the Big Ten as well. Indiana versus Nebraska. Now, Indiana has scored over 40 points in every game except for the first game of the year. They even scored 77 points against Western Illinois. Nebraska's got this high-flying offense. They like to throw the ball now. They've been going. So for me, I don't care about the point spread. I'm doing the over and under on this one, and I'm taking the over 49.5. If Indiana can score over 40 points by themselves, I think Nebraska could score 10. So I'm taking the over on 49.5.
I think that's a good bet. I think I could see this being a 33-23 game even. I mean, I think that you've got 2 good offenses that could throw the ball down the field. And, you've got that good coach, Matt Rule for Nebraska. He'll have them ready to play. I mean, I think that team's up on the rise, and Indiana, I seen the coach that was on Pat McAfee this weekend. He's a no nonsense. They don't get there, like he was telling Pat, they get there late, they play the game and they go home. And, there's not a lot of pageantry with that or anything. Just get there and go home. I like that coach. And even the comment he made, hey, look up my bio. We just win, baby. So I like him. This should be a good game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I didn't like the points. I didn't want to go either way on that one. The points were kind of high on Indiana's side. So I was like, when I saw 49.5, I was like, yeah, I'm taking this one.
Yeah.
Nebraska does play good defense, though, so we'll have to see. But I think in this one, Indiana's just got too much firepower to keep them limited, and Nebraska's going to score points too. So what do you got for your third bet, though?
My third bet is the nightcap. Kentucky versus Florida. Kentucky's led by Brock Vandagriff at quarterback, and it's 950 yards of passing this year. This is a Kentucky team that gave Georgia all they can handle early this year. Kentucky's defense is led by Jameis Dumas and his 29 tackles. Florida, man, they're going to be missing Graham Mertz. So they're going to go with the guy that they started with the year and DJ Langaway. Florida's defense is led by Jordan Castle, 30 tackles. Kentucky has failed to cover in each of the last 4 October games. Florida has covered the spread 5 out of the last 6 games in October. I think that injury to Graham Mertz is a killer. And I think it's just going to be too much for Florida to overcome. So give me Kentucky on the money line. This was a 1-point spread. Kentucky given 1 at Florida. I think you just got to take Kentucky for the win on the money line.
Definitely agree. I think that this will be a sneaky game. I think it's going to be one that comes down to the end. Just because Kentucky can play great and then play bad, like they're just inconsistent. But Florida turns it on last week, but then lose that starting quarterback. It's hard to come back after that. But who knows?
And another thing too, Anthony, I bet against them against Georgia, and I lost. I'm not doing it twice in a row.
Yeah, definitely agree. For my final, I'm also doing a night game as well. Kansas State versus West Virginia. I don't believe in this West Virginia team. I think they just, even at home, I just don't know what it is, but it always seems that like they'll play good in the first half and then the second half they'll just drop an egg. And I think this Kansas State team, after this the big win against Colorado last week, they got a lot going for them. I like this one for 2.5 as a point spread for a ranked team versus a 500 team. So I'm taking Kansas State minus 2.5 on this game. I think it'll be a sneaky good game as well, but I think Kansas State definitely pulls this out at the end.
Yeah, and West Virginia, they're just, you thought they would play good against Penn State earlier in the year. They didn't. You just don't know which West Virginia team you're going to get. I mean, I guess that goes along with Kansas State. I mean, that quarterback, Avery Johnson's got to that's going to be a hard place to play at West Virginia at night. So, I mean, he's going to have to be on the ball. I mean, he's going to have to throw dimes and play good ball, or they could get beat as well.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of not controversy, but last week the coach for West Virginia was like, why would you have fans come out and stuff like that? And he's like, didn't you have a good time? Yeah, well, it's a good time when you win football games, okay?
Yeah.
Start winning football games. I just think this game, I don't feel that there's home field advantage like it used to be when you talked about West Virginia. So right. I like Kansas State on this one, but I want to thank everyone for listening. This is our college football Saturday wrap up. There is a couple football games on here tonight on Friday night as we're recording on Friday. And then we will be recording on Sunday. There's a London game on Sunday, so we will be recording during that. We will not talk about that game until Wednesday when we come back. We also want to remind you there's 2 Monday night football games for the NFL. So a little bit less of a Sunday football, but you got the London game and then 2 on Monday night. But we want to thank
and you better have ESPN Plus if you want to watch the second game.
Yeah, I saw that.
Thanks a lot, ESPN.
Silly. But I want to thank everyone for listening. If you like what we do, like, subscribe, comment. If you don't, that's okay too. But we want to thank everyone. Have a great college football Saturday, and we'll talk to you on Sunday.